I am Tom with Just One Pack, and this is AC On, the short Alpha Clash podcast where I talk all things Alpha Clash on my way to work. So, I've been off for a week, and I apologise for that, if anyone would have missed me. There was a work thing. But while I was off, everyone else was at ClashCon, it seems. So, there was some news from there, so let's dig into that. Now, due to work, I have been delayed a little bit in making my tier list for this for this set, the current set, Echoes of Eternity's contenders. Now, that is bad enough. I am now sort of glad I did, because I need to revise a few things, and a few things I may have gotten right. So this time we won't need to revise. I don't know all the setting, all the placements of all the new contenders, but I do know two of them very distinctly. One is Sinai and the other is Cadaverous. Now, let's start with Sinai. Sinai to me, and that I'm still going to make the tier list just to have that there for history's sake and completeness. What I was going to say about Sinai is that it seems like that is something that potentially could be very strong. However, it does not have enough support by Mechadralia cards. At least I thought it didn't have. What turns out is Sinai made it to top 8. So obviously the Mechadralia cards out there is plenty strong for that to be sufficiently supportive of the strategy for Sinai. Now, I am guessing, for I played with and against Sinai, that the Nano Shield is to me it seems like a very powerful tool, and I haven't seen the games with Sinai. I hope that helped it get there, because that was one of the strong points that I would suggest. However, hats off to whoever brought it there. I can't remember the names because they write them down and rubbish with names. But that was really cool. So I may have to bump up Sinai to a higher level, to be fair, on the tier list. That's one thing. Well done. That's all I can say. Well done. The other contender that was did very well is Cadaverous. Now, in my original take for Cadaverous is that he would be very strong. He would be very strong because there were already good support for him in the cards out there, in the discarded cards out there. Not at least because his strategy is not terribly misaligned with what discarded wanted to do in general, which is getting things back you thought you discarded off, pun intended. And Cadaverous does the same thing, so there's a lot of synergy, thematically synergies with existing cards. Plus, he's relying on discarded cards, and there is a lot of support for discarded cards. So it was already a strong strategy to be discarded, and as it turns out, to this Pro Tour, he completely replaced Lord Krong. Not a single Lord Krong in the top, but there was a Cadaverous, and not only did he do well, he made it to the finals. Sadly, he lost the finals, but he did make it to the finals, which it's pretty much on par with what I was sort of hoping it would go. So, well, I have to update my opinions about Sinai. Well, not Sinai, but the support Sinai has, because I always thought Sinai was a really strong contender. Cadaverous is exactly where I would have predicted him to be. more on the rest once I get around to making the video, hopefully soon. Now, me being late with that video, with the tier list of contenders, just is underlined extraordinary by the fact that ClashCon is also where we sort of get our next spoilers for the next set, a bit of look into the future, right? We don't know when the next set will happen, but we do know what it's called, and we know a little bit about what's going in that set. Now, this is not about that set as an entirety. We know way too little, but I want to just spend a couple of minutes. I'm trying to keep these short. I want to spend a couple of minutes talking about the next set. The set is called Ancient Alphas, which is perfectly story-wise, since the storyline for the Cosmic Block, which we are in, it takes place way in the past in relation to the story we started out with, right? So, this old story, like 10,000 years ago, plays out on a galaxy far, far away, I was about to say, with ancient alphas. So the name is pretty much on par. Now, we know some of the contenders that we will get. The reason for that is because they spoiled them. We know that we would get Valen Solarial, I don't know, Solarial, maybe? We know we get her, Valen. We know that she will be rogue, and she knows she's blind. That was been spoiled. We know we get a Caprice, or Caprius, which is blue, and an alpha on the ancient ones. These are not, so none of the characters here are new. There were some hints at them in Echoes of Eternity. There are hints in Echoes of Eternity of these characters. This is not new. We also get Fangwin, which was expected, the green dragon, as opposed to the red dragon. And this is not spoiled yet, but I'm guessing we're going to get Windhoof. The reason for that is that he is on the booster packs, so I'm guessing we're going to get Windhoof as well. That contender has not been spoiled yet. Now, I'm not going to go through every single contender, but there is one final contender that was spoiled, which I think is really interesting, because it opens up a whole lot of the science space that I've been sort of not missing. I was hoping they would go explore, and now they are beginning to explore it. Do it a very interesting way. So, the fourth contender that was revealed is Entropy. Now, Entropy is sort of a chaos bringer, right? So Entropy does not just follow the norms, right? He goes a different route, and in this case, he brings a little bit of chaos into the game. He's colorless, and every resource you play with him goes backside up and is colorless. Now, that may present some problems. How do you pay for specific resource costs if all your resources are colorless? Well, the thing is that you can convert colorless resources. Only if you got Entropy as your contender, you can sort of convert that into to colored resources by paying one life for each specific resource cost. So you sort of convert that this way. That is that's interesting. In order to accommodate this, because that will take some life out of him. I don't suppose there will be a whole complete set of colorless clash cards and buffs and all of that stuff, because if they are powerful enough to contend, with the rest. Why would you ever wander into the territory of multicolor, right? That's just a hassle you don't need. However, to compensate for this, this paying of life for specific resources, he has 40 life. So he is the contender with far more life than anyone else, but you have to pay that in order to play cards. That's an interesting balance, an interesting way to, at least to me, an interesting way to play around with. To play around with Colourless, how you introduce that. Loads of games have these generic or Colourless or whatever they're called cards that go into everything. Right? In Magic, you have stuff like Soul Ring that goes into everything and produces colourless mana. What they call generic cards in Flesh and Blood, stuff like that. They're all over the place and does not require anything specific. But it also means that they are always support cards for the other strategies, right? Now, the interesting bit here is, of course, that now we have the contender is Colourless. You can sort of do the same in Magic, I think. The contender is Colourless, so he can do anything. And the way he functions means that you can ignore the color barriers to some extent, but you have to be mindful of the specific cost, because most things cost just a single or two specific resources to cast or to play, and that sort of leads into troubled territory, because now you have to take that in consideration, that you might kill yourself if you're too successful, right? So maybe you don't want to ram too hard, because that means bigger cards, means more specific resources, means more damage to yourself. So there's a balance there, and I think that is a really interesting science base, and I'll really be looking forward to trying to build something out of that, having an eye on this specific resource cost. Now, there might, because that has been the norm so far, that every contender sort of have its own clash buffs. Colourless clash buffs is I think that may be a dangerous design field. If they need to, I think, be a little bit underpowered for not exploding between your hands, right? Not blowing up between your hands. Because if it's a powerful clash buff, that could go anywhere, and any 2, 3, or 4 color deck would sort of have that a bit that option of playing that and ignoring the constraints around which resources need to be open. So that's a really interesting design choice to have there, and a really interesting space. Now, I am going to try to get the tier list I started with for Echoes out before we go to the Protour Asia. They might mess up my predictions badly, which would be really, really cool if they did. So I'm going to try to get that out before then, and then everyone can mock me for being completely off target with some of the contenders. But for now, that was it. I'll better get to work, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.